Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
So we're talking Star Wars leading up to episode 9, and we're doing a Star Wars Revisited. We're gonna watch all of the Star Wars movies. We watched the first one by episode 4. We mean. And leading up to Star Wars, episode 9 and the end of the saga, we wanted to kind of get our feelings on not only Star Wars as a whole, as a film franchise in this series. We'll talk more Star Wars later as well, but the films and how, our memories of the films, as well as what it's like watching them now as 30-somethings who grew up in Star Wars as Star Wars was life. It's the best franchise ever. So.
Yeah, really, when Patrick came to this idea, it was a thing of, hey, do you want an excuse to watch every single Star Wars movie before episode 9 comes out? And I was like, I don't really need an excuse, but sure. Yeah. I absolutely will. And, James in the chat mentions Clone Wars Rebels. So for this series, we are just going to be sticking to the movies. But Patrick brings up a good point. I think it'd be cool maybe after episode 9's over, like doing a thing where maybe like once a month or something like that, me and you some time to go through like a season and like go through each season of Clone Wars, especially by then Disney Plus will be out, and so all that stuff will be quite available, and then we can also throw Mandalorian in there as well. So that's a good call. So for this though, we are going just all of the movies, including at least Rogue One and maybe Solo.
We'll see if we can hit Solo. It'll eventually be part of the series, at least leading up to episode 9. We're gonna do all of the movies in release order and talk about those. But yeah, as Owen was talking about, like we're gonna keep talking Star Wars. I have other videos that I've already kind of thought of, like ideas for us for things I haven't seen other people do, or at least that'd be fun for us to do. I have not seen.
Plus, you haven't done Rebels, have you?
I have not watched all of Rebels. I watched like the first couple episodes. Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes. So yeah, we'll probably cover everything. As we keep going, obviously this is going to be on the back burner because I've got other Star Wars-esque episodes like I mentioned like a Little Known Facts video maybe, but I also want to talk about the retcons because I've got like lists of retcons that some people don't even know about. This will be about the movies though, so let's talk about A New Hope. Old school, and I watched as old as I could get, as original as I could get in this day and age. You watched the DVDs, right?
I watched the original. They released a special edition about 10 years ago, where the first time they released it in widescreen, and on the bonus features disc, you could watch the non-bonus, and it was in 4:3 non-widescreen, the original theatrical release. So that's what I watched on my giant TV, thankfully, because otherwise it would have been super tiny.
I did watch a cleaned up version. Neither of us watched the special edition ones. We'll probably talk special edition stuff later on, as this is a special edition.
Nope.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well, I want to talk to special edition later. So we watched these revisiting Star Wars and thinking about Star Wars and these movies, and like maybe our first time watching it, and also some other. So I've wrote down some prompts, but first and foremost, you mentioned right before we went on air talking about, to level set, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
So it's this one.
It's this one. Okay.
A New Hope is my absolute favorite. There's things that I love about all of them, as we'll go through, and as we've talked about several times. I know that most people are on the Empire train.
Sure.
I totally get you. Me and my wife were talking about this again last night because she's like, so what's your favorite? Because I mentioned that we were going to do it. It's the best standalone movie.
Sure.
It's the best, like, from the beginning to the end, there is a complete story in that. Yes, we see Darth Vader fly away at the end. Like, there is some like cliffhangery things, but there is a beginning to end. We wanted the plans for the Death Star. Plans for the Death Star. Death Star blows up. Like, there's a thing there. it throws you. All of them are really good at doing this, but like from just we talk about like the nostalgia factor. It throws you in at the very beginning. Like you're in the action. You are in this universe from the second that the scroll is done. Yeah. The Star Destroyer chasing down, and I'm going to feel
it's a Corellian Corvette. It's a Tantive 4.
Tantive 4 is what I wanted. And chasing that down, you're instantly in this universe. I will remember that forever. As a young kid getting in that, you get like the first experience of the Force and like what this movie, didn't know what this movie was going to be. But for that reason and its effect, the entire series' effect on me, but the fact that it started there, is just has never been topped.
Sure.
For me.
I will agree from a self-contained standpoint. If Star Wars had been a thing and they never made another Star Wars, it would be a sad world. But that movie would still, you could still rewatch that movie and go, yes, good prevailed. And there weren't loose ends. The only loose end are ones if you're really reading into what they're talking about, where they talk about, I'd say it's probably during one scene where Grand Moff Tarkin walks in. They're talking about the Senate, and Tarkin's like, well, "We've dissolved the Senate. It's all about the Emperor." And like, that's the only time where you're like, where if you forget about that line, everything else is completely tied up, because that's the only time they mention the Emperor in the entire movie, if I'm not mistaken. I absolutely love this movie. I would say for the longest time, Jedi was my favorite, but only because of Jabba's palace. Not necessarily. I mean, the ending, having 3 different storylines going on together in an amazing way. Endor, and we'll talk about that when we talk about Jedi. Empire may be my favorite as it stands in the series, but I'll agree with you on as a standalone. Episode 4 is where it's at. It's great, even with all the flaws, and there's a lot of flaws in this movie. I think this one has the record for the most mistakes in a movie in the original theatrical release, like boom mics in the way and other stuff, continuity issues. But it's so good, and the fact that everyone thought it was going to be horrible, I think even makes it even better.
Well, and also like the budget stuff that it was made on, like you can clearly tell, like my wife commented on part of it, like the very famous one, like in terms of mistakes, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. I'm sure that somebody pointed them out to me, like, oh, hey, cool. Never noticed that. But like, there's a very clear just thing from like a special effects standpoint. So like Obi-Wan's fighting Vader, and that's the thing where his lightsaber like curves into it, and you clearly see it's just like this little light bulb that is there, like that special effect. And like, they didn't, they still haven't like ever taken it out or anything. It's still there. Like you just see the budget on that. You see like the ridiculous helmets that the rebels are wearing at the beginning. The Empire, the Imperials who are in the cell block also wearing just ridiculously oversized things that they did for the style of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the costumes are as basic as you could go. I mean, that's one of the reasons stylistically that they chose the robes, the peasant kind of look that Luke has. Leia's dress is so plain in so many, and the officer, even the officer uniforms are very plain. They chose that for budgetary reasons, because they had to spend money on other things. One of my favorite scenes, and I think maybe one of the most iconic scenes in all of cinematic history, in the cantina. Like, they just grabbed random masks that they had around. Like, I think the Bib Fortuna and like those guys are original, but there's a lot of these that were just random masks that they found in special effects, because they needed just tons really quick, and it looks great. Like, I want to hang out there, and I wish that was in Star Wars, Star Wars land.
So I didn't know which direction you wanted to go next. So like we mentioned having like some favorite parts or like the nostalgia. We also have like what bugged me, and then like if there was anything new. Did you want to like start positive? Did you want to start negative?
I mean, we could continue start like on the positive thing. Okay. There's not a lot that bugs me about this movie. Okay. But there's a pet peeve of mine. Okay. That maybe no one else is bothered by, but Carrie Fisher in her first scenes with Tarkin, I guess it's her like second or third scene, sorry, but she's talking to Tarkin and she bounces between a British accent and an American accent, and it's always bugged me. And I know why she did it, but it always bugged me.
Well, that was similar to that with and this is something where like it's just never bugged me, so it never stuck out to me. But again, watching it last night, keeping it fresh, my wife was like, so when did it stop being the Falcon and start being the Falcon? Because Han Solo does the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon. And then like I think he says it in Empire 2, like I'll get her out on the Falcon, but like literally like he's like the only one that ever really calls him the Millennium Falcon. But then again, I had to start thinking about it. Does anybody ever say the Falcon?
I don't remember. I mean, thankfully we were watching him so we can tell.
I'm going to start looking for it now, but like she noticed that and I just hadn't stood out to me. Yeah. And then I actually did pick up on the same thing. Not that she was switching back and forth, but that like what I saw was just a complete change in her diction from movie to movie. And I haven't gotten Empire yet. I'm going to watch Empire next Monday or Tuesday. But the fact that she sounds completely different in A New Hope than she does in Empire or Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and I will say, so the background on that, and I'll be brief on it, but she'd spent, I want to say it was 2 or 3 years in England. She was doing like, I don't know if it was West End or what it was there, but like she was doing plays in England with a British accent, or as good as she did of a British accent. Yeah. And then she goes on set, and it was like her first, I think that was her first scene that she shot, and she's against all British and Welsh people, and she just went into the proper, she was like, well, I'm a princess, I'm going to be proper, and I'm going to stand up to this guy. The only thing is, like, if she continued to do that, that'd be cool, but then as soon as they're like, all right, yeah, you can fire on Alderaan, she's like, what? No! And she immediately goes into her American accent. And it's almost like she broke her own character at that point. I know that's not what she was going for, but it's always just something that irritated me. So other than Falcon, is there anything else that bothered you?
Yeah, from the bug me standpoint, so I'm going to put two of them together. One's not a bug me. One's actually an awesome and a bug me at the same time. Okay. So we talked about the cantina and the legendariness of it. An awesome thing, total awesome thing is like just how you can see how Mos Eisley is, and like Kenobi describes it as a place for villainy and evil. And so we see Han shooting first. I'm not going to go into that scene yet, but just in terms of like he shoots Greedo. Yep. Greedo's dead. He just flips bartender a coin, says sorry about the mess. We have Kenobi slice the dude's arm off, just whips it out. Everybody's like, and then just goes back to their drinks. Like the fact that like nobody cares. Like the fact that you could tell like this kind of criminal stuff must go down all the time because nobody gives a flying F that a dude just got his face blown off and a dude just got his arm cut off. Now the part that bugs me about this though, is that as is mentioned several times, at least on the Imperial side of things, on how Darth Vader is pretty much the last one, at least that they know, that people I guess still aren't really privy to the Emperor being that way, but maybe it's just one of those things. But like the Jedi are dead, and everybody knows the Jedi are dead. Like they haven't been seen in 15, 20 years. They're famously hunted down. He whips out a lightsaber, dude. Like he whips out a lightsaber, cuts this guy's arm off, and like I know that they did get told on to the Imperials, but in terms of like even at the bar, like nobody was like, what was it? There's a guy with a lightsaber. Like I haven't seen one of those in 20 years. Like, everybody's just like, no, or, or is
That's
it
a good
just,
point.
is it just that maybe some of those people are so old school, they're like, well, even if this dude is left over, I don't want to mess with this guy. But it just bugs me that the Jedi are mythical.
Yeah.
And there's a clear thing of that myth showing up when, Kenobi's not famous or anything. He's lived as a hermit ever since he got there, as we later find out. And nobody really is like, hey, are you a Jedi? Yeah. Did you kill somebody for that? Or did you steal it? Like, that bugged me.
Yeah. No, I never thought about that. Like, I mean, I always assumed like, oh, well, it's a tool of the Jedi, but it doesn't mean a Jedi are the only ones who can wield it. As we see Han and others like have done that. But at the same time, like, I could totally see that no one questioned it. And also, I'm assuming that lightsaber would be kind of worth some money.
Yeah.
So no one tried to bump him for it or anything. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then really, like you mentioned, there's not like a whole lot of things that bug me about this movie. It is my favorite movie of all time. So I try not to like hate on it too much. But since I was trying to look for things specifically, and again look at it with kind of fresh eyes, the fact that Luke, just, we know that he's not such a bad pilot himself, but he literally like shows up. He's like, hey, rebellion, how's it going? He's never run a military maneuver before. Yeah. Like, I understand that they're rebels and they're not like an official army or anything, but he's never flown an X-Wing. He's never been in a dogfight of any sort. Aside from what happens in the Millennium Falcon, like, I was trying to look up online if anybody established a timeline between when they escaped the Death Star and when they got to
Yavin.
To Yavin 4, and people were just assuming maybe a day, maybe 2 days. Like, there's no real. They were basically like the length of light speed, and we have no idea what Lucas had in that. So let's just say it was only a day. He's already an X-Wing fighter pilot. I understand the Force is with him and everything, but they didn't know that yet. Like, they didn't know anything about this guy. And they're just like, hey, and you're not the last designated guy. You're Red 5. You're not even like Red 72. Like,
yeah, and he's on the red team. He's on like one of the better teams with Wedge and Antilles and everything. I know that Biggs, like, he knows people there, but yeah, like you said. I know they went into it more in the expanded universe stuff where I think they talked about like the T-16 that he flew, like the controls like basically the same as an X-Wing. But yeah, you're right. Like, they didn't even like have a conversation where they're like, we're short a couple guys and we got an extra, like, we got an extra X-Wing for you. I mean, those things aren't cheap.
And again,
and the rebels. So.
And again, everything that I say is all about suspending disbelief. Anytime anybody wants to come at me on like how realistic I'm like, you want realistic? Let's go watch Star Trek. And even then, they're pushing the boundaries there. Yeah. But like, so this was literally just this. I was looking for things to be nitpicky on, and I realized that I had never questioned that one time in my life that he was just an X-Wing pilot a day after arriving in the Rebellion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, I guess that was the assumption, and they, I think that's why they threw in like the line where he's talking about like bullseyeing wombats.
T-16 back.
Yeah, like, and I totally like when he says that, he like, I guess that was his way of doing that, which, I mean, he knows Biggs there. I don't know if he knows Wedge, but I know he knew Biggs. Biggs and Tank. Yeah, so. He knew people there, but at the same time, like, I mean, I guess everyone vouched for him, but it would have helped to have a little scene in there talking about that. Yeah.
So going back, Robert's been comments, and I noticed that he agreed on the lightsaber thing about the black market, and he's like, nobody came at him because, well, he got a lightsaber.
He got a lightsaber. What are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna try to steal the lightsaber, and you're gonna lose a hand. Like, it's not even like you're gonna get roughed up. You will no longer have a hand or a head. Yeah, it's true. Or just stab you. Yeah.
Those are the only like two things that really bugged me, and then this third thing isn't a thing that bugged me about the movie, but I'd never watched the credits before, right? And the credits, literally, there's nothing special about the credits. It's not like Marvel. There's no secret scenes. This is the 70s. But literally in the billings, so understandably so. Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, they're the top three. Then the guy who I'm gonna be bad. Apparently he was very famous in his day, but the guy who plays Tarkin.
Yeah.
I knew his name yesterday.
Yeah.
He was next, and that's apparently because he was a very
Peter
big guy.
Cushing was huge. Yeah. Peter
Yeah.
Cushing. Yeah.
And then Alan Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible names, guys. I'm sorry. I'm still a huge Star Wars fan. So, again, makes sense that he's there.
Sure.
James Earl Jones isn't mentioned in any of the things before the producer credits and stuff. He's mentioned in the cast scroll as the voice of Darth Vader. But I'm like, you guys just. I understand that they didn't know what just happened. I understand that they didn't realize that they created one of the most awesome villains in the history of cinema. But he was awesome. He did great. And you didn't include him.
Yeah.
Before the producers.
Is David Prowse isn't in there either? Is he?
Who?
David Prowse. So David Prowse is the physical Vader.
Maybe that's why they did it. But they had Mayhew. Mayhew was listed before the producers.
Wow. Anthony Daniels.
Anthony Daniels was of course listed. All those Mayhew really doesn't make sense to me because he doesn't talk. And so the fact that Mayhew gets listed and James Earl Jones doesn't get listed.
Yeah.
And so now next week when I watch Empire, I'm purposely going to be watching the credits again because I want to know if they snubbed him like that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it. I was like, that. It was the voice was awesome. I know that he was relatively big in the 70s as well. He wasn't as big as Cushing or anything. I understand why Cushing, he was literally, but it went them three, then him by himself.
Yeah.
And then Alec, and then the rest of the people. There's 6 other people, but just no James. And that bugged me. I was offended for him.
Yeah. No, I could totally see that. It's the, I know that there was, Prowse said that he didn't know that he was being voiced over. Lucas said that was always part of the plan. Peter Mayhew said that he always knew Chewbacca wasn't going to speak, but he had lines on the set. Peter Mayhew had Chewbacca lines to read. And there's only one clip that I found of it. I would love for some undoctored clips to hear what else Chewie was saying to Han, because that way Harrison Ford and Harrison Ford could play off each other. And it was one of his only lines on the I think it was on the Falcon, where he says that wizard's a crazy old man, and Falcon and Han's like, you said it, Chewie, where'd you dig up this old fossil? So you now know what Chewie was saying to him. I want that a little bit, you know?
Awesome. I'd never heard that. That's cool. Yeah. The only footage I've ever seen of Mayhew is there's the ending footage where there's no music or anything, and they're in that big hall, and Mayhew makes these noises that I guess they figured out some other way to make those noises, but he this extremely annoying
Yeah, I'm sure he was doing that when if they wanted screams or something, but he had lines, at least in episode 4 he had lines, and then the sound designer mixed walruses and other things, walruses and bears and all these different things to make the Wookiee sound, which is it's amazing. There's a lot of really cool sound design and set stuff, the Tusken Raiders, that. When I remember when I was little, when Luke gets jumped by the Tusken Raiders, because he's looking at the banthas and trying to figure out how many there are. Yeah. And I remember that scaring me when I was little. Obviously it doesn't scare me now. It doesn't surprise me because I know it's gonna come. But I remember that scaring me so bad. When he just jumps out and rah, 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 rah.
So I didn't know if you want to end with favorite stuff or if you want to end with new stuff. Again, we're trying to watch this with fresh eyes, and I was trying to. You specifically noted on the thing, did you notice anything new, or at least notice anything that you'd never noticed before? Mm-hmm. So I did actually manage to get one thing that I had never really thought about, and then I have just my list of favorite moments and scenes, and, and I have one memory to share with you at some point.
Okay, what did you not notice before?
So. We know famously that there's a myth, if you guys are not aware. Everybody thinks that Lucas, not everybody, but everybody thinks that Lucas wrote the entire saga and that he had it all prepared out and mapped out and everything before he ever filmed episode 4. That is not true. It's categorically not true.
He will take that to his grave. He will continue to lie about that.
And he, for example, with Empire, as we'll get into a little bit more next week, but like he didn't know that Darth Vader was Luke's father until the second draft of Empire. So, and so that actually led me to the thing that I noticed here. So we're near the beginning of the movie. Luke is in there talking to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and Beru and Owen share a look about his father, who we later know. We know that his father was Anakin the whole time. It's just whether Anakin was a separate person or not. And at this time, he was a separate person. And so I never really noticed like the looks that they shared. Because it really makes me wonder, like, what kind of guy was Anakin? Like, what was Anakin supposed to be before it turns out that he was Darth Vader? So, like, we know that he ends up being Luke's father in Empire. But when they're sharing that thought, I'm like, was Anakin also a bad guy? Like, is he just famously killed by Vader? Like, was he a guy who was training to be a Jedi who it didn't work out? It really, like, it was just this look that they shared where he's like, I wonder if he's related to Ben Kenobi. And they like look at each other, and then he's like, he died at the same time as your father. And then, okay, what happened? Like, I really would I'm super curious to know like what would be it. They did do a comic series a few years ago called Star Wars, and it was like a 6 or 7 episode thing. I own them about Anakin Starkiller. Which was the original last name before it turned to Skywalker. But it still doesn't like tell me what he was intending in that movie. And so it was just that look. It was just that look. It was like that that little, they die tragically after that. So you never really get to hear anything else further. And then Kenobi says like the lightsaber was your father. So we know that there's some Jedi connection. But was he a bad guy? Was he a good guy? Like before he turns to Vader, it really made me wonder.
Yeah, I guess I remember the look, and I always viewed that like when the two of them looked at each other, it's like when family members are like looking at each other where they're like, hey, we're going to be on the same page about this. Yeah. Because I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. Like it was that kind of knowing look, that weighted look that says more. I always viewed it that way. Like I didn't know what was behind it. And then when Kenobi, explains, oh, he murdered your father. Like, I'm assuming that, like, then you're like, oh, I guess that's why they didn't want to talk about it. But yeah, it does seem more heavy than just, your father died. Yeah. Like, so I get that. Actually, similarly, my thing I didn't notice, or I noticed this time and I don't remember noticing before, was how long the shot is on their bodies, like, after they died. I swear I don't remember. I mean, it's obviously our memories are just horrible. Yeah. Humans' memories are horrible. I thought it was brief, and it stays on for for more than a millisecond where you see their dead bodies. And for some reason, like, I don't know if I just blanked that out when I was younger, but like I thought it was much more brief. But you can see, and obviously, the Jawas C-3PO is like throwing Jawas on the pyre, which I always thought was interesting, but Whitney actually brought it up this time as we were watching it. Like, she was like, why is C-3PO like playing cleanup and Kenobi's just like hanging out? Like,
he's a droid.
Yeah, I guess he's a droid. Like, you make the droid do the hard work, but
so I was chuckling because Robert in the chat, he's like, yep, that's the black people at Thanksgiving look when people start asking questions about stuff they shouldn't.
Yep. That's, I mean, I was going to say, like, I was about to say, like, I know that family member look, like those family members when people, like, someone brings up something, and it's like, I'm not going to say, obviously things here because people like see something, but someone will bring up a certain thing, and everyone's just like, yeah. So, yeah, I know that look.
That's that totally breaking the fourth wall type of look, too, where you're just,
yep.
But obviously in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I never really noticed like how long they stood on it. I think you're right. Like I don't even remember noticing like the burning skeletons until way later.
Yeah.
In my life, because I've been and so I'll just share this memory now. I've been watching this movie since I was 3 years old. I don't remember it, but my parents, they like to tell a story. Actually, it's my aunt. My aunt was babysitting me, and she likes to tell a story that we didn't actually have a TV. We had a VCR that hooked up to a monitor in the early 90s, and she was babysitting me, and apparently I went in and I put Star Wars in the VCR and watched it by myself with no help whatsoever. She left me alone for like the 2 hours and 28 minutes and everything. But by the time she came back, I had rewound the tape, put it up, and gone and like put myself to bed all at like 3 years old. Now, I don't remember any of this at all, but this is how long I've been watching Star Wars. So I don't remember ever noticing those skeletons or anything until way later. And then it became the famous joke where you see the action figure. And it's like Uncle Owen, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely never did. I do remember like very distinctly him burning Jawas, but it's like, oh, he's an alien. Like, who cares?
Well, yeah, that's where I was like,
they're not people. They're just Jawas.
I thought the burning thing was like that was their way of like disposing of the bodies, like, you know, if you want to call it ceremony, or if you just want to be like, you know, well, we're just cleaning up because otherwise you're going to attract wildlife. I don't know, like what, you know, whatever reasons. But yeah, either way, like it's just to kind of bookend it. Like I don't remember my first time watching this because I am certain that I watched it on TV. I know we watched it on VHS. I'm gonna have to ask my dad like when I started watching it, because I don't remember being. I mean, obviously, neither one of us lived in a world before Star Wars.
Nope.
But I don't remember my life before Star Wars. Like. Nope. It's one of the earliest things that I remember toys playing with. Like, yeah, I had Optimus Prime and some other things, but like I had Star Wars toys. And
one of my earliest memories of a birthday present was when they got me the THX remastered VHS trilogy.
Yeah.
I got that for my birthday. Whatever year that came out, that's when I got it. That's one of the first birthday presents I remember getting.
Yeah. And I remember like, so I know that like I didn't get him as a present because my dad was extremely into Star Wars, extremely into Star Wars. So I don't remember getting that as a present. I remember getting Star Wars toys for presents and everything. But I remember when those came out, the VHS tapes. I remember when those came out, and we went, like, I remember us going to the store to grab those, and I don't know, I can't remember a couple other Star Wars things while we were there, but like I didn't see the Star Wars movies when they came out in theaters, and I don't remember them ever releasing them prior to the special editions. Actually, right before the special editions, they played them.
That's why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, right before the special editions, like they did. So I went to see all three of them during that. I went to see the special edition versions, and then, you know, obviously episode 1, and we'll talk about that in a couple weeks, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think if there was just anything else that I'd never like noticed before, any other memories that I had, and then just I just kind of just wrote down like random things, and I don't think we need to spend too much time with it because it's been talked about for years.
Yeah.
But, like, Han shot first.
Han is the only one who shoots. Like if you watch the original version, Han shoots, Greedo falls down, and it's an homage to the Western movies. It's like Han shot because he was going to be shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if Greedo even got to shoot him. Han made the decision because he knew he was basically going to die.
Yeah.
He was either going to die or he was going to be brought to Jabba and then die. Yeah. So that's what he had to do.
As we later find out. But I did want to, the thing that I wanted to expand on that, and just entirely with Harrison Ford. We know that he's like one of the best, like this and Indiana Jones, like put him on the map, but like watching him again in this movie and then knowing how he is since then, if you guys don't know anything, if you've never watched an interview with Harrison Ford, that dude is the most socially awkward person in the world. He has social anxiety. It's a serious thing. Like he does not like talking to people, like really, but that's what's crazy to me is that from the moment he comes on camera, like he owns that scene, dude. Like the second that he's like, I'm the captain of the Millennium Falcon, like, and just from then on, every time the camera is on him and every time he has lines, like, you would never know.
Yeah, he has some of the best lines too. Like,
yeah, the chops that this dude has is insane. Like, I don't think, I think as much credit as he gets, he doesn't get enough credit. I think that for a movie like this, like, just the way that he act, like, that, I think it was Academy level acting. I understand that this movie was never good, like, but it amazed me. And again, this is now knowing what I know about him and the fact, like, that how he is in real life versus how he is on camera, and you move that into Indiana Jones too. You really never see, like, those social things, and the way that he plays off Hamill a lot in this is awesome. There's like the moment that they're talking about the princess, and like Luke's like, what do you think of her? And she's like, trying not to think about it. And then like that you think a girl like her and a guy like me, and this is before Lucas knows that they're brother and sister. This is before anybody knows that they're brother and sister. But you see, like, Luke, it's also like he wants a little piece of that too. And then Han goes, like, just shoots him that smile after he's already looked away. Like, just such good stuff from him. It's good things.
Oh yeah, the best line for him in this movie is, that when they've gone to the detention block, the cells, and they're asking what's going on there. We're fine. We're situation. Everything's fine. How are you? It's one of the best lines, and his timing, like, that was supposed to be funny. It was written to be funny, but his timing and then his wincing where he's like, oh, I screwed it up, like, is just amazing. So he shows how there's no small parts, and no one thought this was going to be anywhere near what it ended up being. So anyways, we'll talk more about that next time as we dive into to Empire, but let us know your thoughts on A New Hope. And what are some of your favorite movies of this? Favorite memories of this movie, childhood memories, or just favorite parts?
I gotta know one thing before we close out. Being the first of the Star Wars movie, I need to know, was Princess Leia your first crush?
Ooh, I think so. Like, I remember my early crushes.
Yeah,
but I think that she was. And it wasn't what everyone else, like, talks about, like the gold bikini and everything. Like, that wasn't it for me. It's actually the scene in Empire between Han and Leia, one of the best scenes ever on the Falcon, where she's like just fixing stuff and she's like doing her thing. But like the interaction between the two of them was just amazing. That's my Princess Leia.
For me, it's in A New Hope here, where she takes the gun from him.
Yeah.
And shoots the garbage chute door, and she's like, somebody's got to save us kids, and like just starts blasting just into the garbage chute, fly door. Like, the command, like, I don't know what that was, but she absolutely was my first. Again, like you, we could do that sometime. Talk about like our nerd crushes when we
we could fill an episode with that.
I could not end our first Star Wars discussion without just like throwing that out there. Like, obviously the gold bikini thing came later, and as we went older, but like, no, it was established way before then, because she's too awesome. It wasn't that, like, as a kid, or even like of course you had the teenager thing, but like, no, it was her as a character. It was her confidence, her smile, like, it's one of the best smiles on the planet. So many things. Yeah. So let us know let us know what your favorite Carrie Fisher moments are in the comments, and we'll see you later. Goodbye. May the Force be with you.
Always.